Hi everybody, I'm Florida Trailblazer, checking in with you out here in this beautiful wilderness, exploring this nature, taking in the fresh air and beautiful woods out here, exploring some of these trails and going off the beaten path as well. Today, we're going to take a journey through this wilderness, experience the nature, see what we can discover along the way. Such a beautiful place out here, hiking through some of the cypress swamps and into these hammocks. And just enjoying the fresh air. You can smell all the trees and plants. And it just rained recently, so it really brings out the scent of the forest. And you can just sense the wilderness coming alive out here. Some really nice trees out here. Take a look at this one. Seeing a lot of trees like this throughout the forest. Seeing some citrus trees around the area as well. As I'm exploring through the woods here, you can't help but wonder about the past and the history behind this place. You see, when you come out to the wilderness, oftentimes you become curious and you wonder about the people that were there long ago, why they were there, and the history behind these places. It's fascinating, and it adds another element to the adventure and experience. Now, in this particular wilderness, one may not know, but there was once a lot of old and large cypress trees throughout the woods here, hundreds and thousands of years old. And if you explore through the woods here deep enough, you may see some of them still standing. There's definitely a lot of old cypress stumps. And during the logging era, over 100 years ago, many of those trees were cut down because cypress wood is very valuable. I mean, the fact that these trees can last through the centuries, hundreds and thousands of years. The wood can stand up to the elements, and that's why that wood is so valuable in the logging industry. So much of the old growth cypress was logged out here and all throughout Florida as well. There's also turpentine history in the area. That was a large industry in Florida back in the 1800s and early 1900s. In fact, it was the largest industry, had an array of uses. And if you go back into the past, hundreds and thousands of years ago, and you were exploring these places, back then you would see Native American Indians all throughout these areas. They would have had villages and Indian mounds not too far from the creek, and that was a great source of food. So there are many layers of history throughout the wilderness. And when you're in these places, you can sense it. Hiking back into these swamps, and it's wet and mucky in some of these areas. As I'm walking through, I have to be very careful not to sink into some of this mud. But this area is considerably dry compared to other times of the year. When it's wetter, you can see the water line here on these trees. This indicates how high the water levels get up to, and perhaps even higher than this at times. I mean, you can see right here it's darker right here, and this would be right up to my chest or so. So it's still wet over there. So I'm going to try and navigate around that area. Perhaps through this section seems to be drier. It's proving to be a little difficult at first here getting into these swamps because it's wet and muddy. I mean, as I'm walking, I'm sinking into some of this mud here, so I'm trying to be really careful and not to get stuck out here. But I think I'll be okay. I'm just right along part of this creek right here, so it definitely gets wet in here, so I'm just going to try to stay on the outer fringes, work my way into the swamp as far as I can. Now, we've had some rains come through the area, and it's incredible how fast these places can fill up with water. It doesn't take much. We haven't had a lot of rain this winter or spring, and pretty soon the rainy season will be approaching, and I won't be able to walk into a lot of these places, so I'm trying to take advantage while I can, get out here, explore these swamps. There's a little bit of a window left still where I can get into some of these places. Trying to make it over there. I see a very large cypress stump laying on the ground. So peaceful out here. So just trying to take my time, walk slowly through here. And sometimes that's the best way to experience nature, is just take your time. Soak it all in. In fact, time stands still out here. At least it does for me. I'm hearing a lot of birds. I'm seeing a lot of birds along the waterways up ahead. I can see this cypress tree, or what's left of it, laying across the ground up just ahead. You'll like seeing this. It's pretty large. You can see part of the cypress tree there. Let's take a closer look. Now, this tree is dead. It's very old. It's been laying out here for quite some time now, but you can see it's become part of the ecosystem. This tree still serves a purpose. It's starting to get very wet right here. I'm not sure how deep it is, but I'm going to walk over to here to the front. There's a view of it from the other side. Take a look at this. It's hollowed out. Hiking through the woods, came out into this clearing, and you can see how beautiful it is out here, but I'm seeing some wildlife as well. And take a look at this. Some sort of animal was here in this location. You can tell. It's a little depression here. I see some prints, and I'm right along this swamp area. You can even see here where it's sort of flattened out. Look at this. You can see another area here where an animal has been laying. You can tell there's a place this animal's been going through here out to that pond, probably an alligator. Definitely some large alligators out here. I just heard one out there in that pond splashing around. Must have heard me coming through here. Trying to be very careful. I don't want to disturb them as well. They like to be out here this time of day. I'll take a look behind me, get a good view of this pond. Exploring around the woods out here and really just roaming around. And what's interesting though is I keep seeing this little trail around these areas. It's probably a game trail of sorts. A lot of wildlife coming through here. Can barely make it out. Wow, take a look at this tree. Definitely an animal staying back in this area. Perfect place for a nest. You can even see where it's a little dug up there. Nice shelter. A lot of fallen trees in the woods here. And it can create an obstacle at times when you're trying to navigate through some of these places. Trying to make my way through there. You see where the tree was. Look at this. Some burn marks. This tree was struck by lightning, looks like, and fell over. There's the base. There's burn marks on that as well. It's incredible. I'm out here in the middle of the wilderness. You can imagine being out here during a storm. And it just goes to show that when you're in the woods, to be very careful. Storms come through, lightning strikes these trees, and it fell right over. It's a fairly large tree.